And we're live. What's going on, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the Two Coaches podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about if it fits your macros. This question comes from, who's it come from?
Tracy Rodriguez.
What's up, Tracy Rodriguez? We're going to be answering your question today in great detail. What was her exact question? Do you remember the specific wording?
Her exact question was, if I do this thing, can you set me up with macros specifically for my body? For what my body needs.
Right. Which is a great question. We actually get that quite a bit. So we're going to jump right into that answer. Let's get that intro going. Two coaches. Woo! So Tracy, thanks so much. Thanks so much for the question. So for those of you that don't know, macros refer to something called macronutrients. You got your protein, your carbs, and your fats. Those are your main nutrients that you take in, your macronutrients. Proteins used for things like recovery, muscle building, that kind of thing. Carbs are your source of energy primarily, and then fats are used by the brain and a bunch of other little biological processes. So if it fits your macros, talks about, how would you describe that? How would you describe that to somebody who's never heard it before?
I wish the fats would use my stomach more than they do my brain. They should do stuff in there. I'm eating enough of them, you know.
What are you, the U.S. Congress of 19? When did they do that? Where they made the food pyramid?
I don't know.
It's not important.
When did they make the food pyramid?
I don't even know what I brought that up. It's one of the most boring topics of conversation.
No, it's not.
It is. It's not. No.
That means that as a collective, which is the worst, as a collective, we decided which foods were right and wrong.
Yeah, which is complete bullcrap, because it turns out there really is no right or wrong. You can be very, very flexible, which is what if it fits your macros is all about. How would you describe that? How would you describe it to somebody?
I would tell them first, there's no food and then junk food. There's just food. There's things you eat and they go into your body and your body does stuff with them.
Right.
Now,
so you're saying there's no good food or bad food. There is just food.
Yeah. It's us that are good and bad.
Wow.
It's us that are imbalanced, unhealthy, struggleful, all of it. The food is literally on the shelf and can sit there and till the dawn of time.
Yeah.
till the end of time, just sit there on the shelf, some of it, and survive. So it's not us that's good or bad. It's not the food that's good or bad. It's us. It's us that can't make the decision between how much of which we should probably.
That is the most philosophical answer of if it fits your macros I've ever heard. I freaking love it. But that's so true, because there's no such thing as good or bad food.
I think a big part of it too is like I have not before. I've pretended to, but now I think I'm finally accepting that that's just where my brain's at. Like, that's how I view macros. Macros are very important, and it can get you exactly where you need to be.
In terms of your intake?
Quote unquote. Mm-hmm. The science behind getting your body looking a specific way.
Right.
Like it can be a huge tool in utilizing it appropriately can allow you to see results that maybe you hadn't seen before, maybe that you hadn't even visualized, like you had never even thought it was possible.
Right.
They can definitely take you to a new place, a new level, a new seriousness about your health, all of that.
Right.
But the variables are so they're not inconsistent. The variables are so broad that it makes it almost impossible for for a normal person, the average bear,
right, to
sit down and be like, you know what? This makes a lot of sense. I'm going to follow my macros. I'm going to learn how many calories I burn a day, how many calories I utilize just being alive, how many calories I take in on average, and then I'm going to start doing some math to figure out exactly what I need to do to be in a deficit or in, whatever the case may be for whatever phase I'm going through, which is typically people trying to lose fat or lose weight or get smaller in general, look a certain way. So they want to do their macros because so-and-so did their macros, figured out the carbs, fats, and proteins of each meal, and that's how they eat every day, and they look fantastic.
Right. So if it fits your macros, for those of you at home who've never heard of it before, it's a philosophy and then a process. So the philosophy is that you can eat kind of whatever the hell you want, so long as it fits within some parameters that you set for yourself early on. Right. So there is no good food. There's no bad food. There's just food, and you can have whatever the hell you want because the body doesn't really discriminate, doesn't differentiate. If you have a carb from a piece of brown rice, the body's gonna process it the same way as if it was eating a carb from a cupcake. So you can have cupcakes or brown rice so long as it fits within these parameters. And then when you're, depending on your goals, what you do in terms of the process is you find like the calories that you want to take in. And if you want to be at a deficit, whatever, you set up these rules to follow, and then you operate within those set parameters for protein, for carbs, and then for fats. You have those daily numbers that you're trying to hit. And so long as you hit them, the idea is that you will hit your goal, assuming that you set them up correctly. One of the biggest problems, though, with if it fits your macros is the actual day-to-day tracking of it all. Like a lot of people that we have that come through, they're like, hey, should I do should I count my macros? Should I get like MyFitnessPal or any other of these other daily trackers? And it's like, hell yeah, sure. Do you enjoy that? Are you cool with counting your calories? Are you going to be consistent with it? Or is it going to be something that you're going to really struggle with? Have you ever done it before? That kind of thing. Because one of the biggest problems with that particular approach is that the fallout rate is really, really, really high, because it's a tedious thing to do. You got to track every single thing that goes in to your stomach, water, every single meal, all snacks, everything you have to track. Otherwise, the parameters are useless. They don't work at all. So it's the, I don't know. Would you say it's like the most? It's a tall claim. I don't know if I would say it's the very most like deliberate and scientific way to approach body composition changes. I don't know if I'd go that far, but if it's not the top, it is really up there. It's systematic, science-based way to approach changing your body composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anybody from like New York, like be down here in Texas, or somebody from like Canada, somewhere where it gets real cold?
We got a new guy in the gym from France.
From France.
From France.
Does he wear shorts in the morning when it's really cold? Well, he just got here, right?
Yeah,
so it's a little. But you know what I'm saying? Like when you see somebody who's temperate, who's tempered to the cold, and they're down here and they're like wearing shorts and a t-shirt in like 35-degree weather, and we're like in
a parka.
We're like completely covered head to toe, like a Christmas Story.
Yeah.
They're like, you okay? We're like, it's cold. They're like, yeah, it's pretty chilly.
Yeah. You're like, it's 55 degrees this morning.
Now, whether they were born there or they moved there or whatever the case may be, you see something and you're like, that's weird. That's different. Macros are interesting to me because I don't like them because I'm like the most hardworking, lazy person. Like I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. But I have done them.
Right.
And the big thing, the only reason I say that is because I've done them for a long time. And when I was my most cut up, shredded, I was following my macros. Yeah. Nothing could change. Nobody could deter me from it. And that's what I was doing. I was also at the time like single, trying to get laid all the time. Like, I was just like a completely different person. So macros are amazing.
Yeah.
An incredible tool.
Right.
And the only reason I mentioned that person, like from the northern country, like they're used to it. So you can't look at somebody who genuinely loves to do macros, even if they're maybe they look fantastic and they're telling you it's the easiest way. It's so simple. Yes, it's kind of annoying that you have to kind of measure everything, but it's so simple and the science works, and it just, you just get back on your macros every time that you fall off and blah, 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 blah. And you can have bad food. You just got to kind of, calculate it into the macros, into your day to make sure that you're losing. And like, it works for somebody who has done it long enough to know now that they can do it. And they see the results, they reap the benefits, and they're like, yeah, this is totally doable. I could do this forever. The rest of us human beings see that and we're like, I'm going to do macros. So then you give it a week and you're like, nah, it's stupid. Yeah. Some people don't even give it a week. Yeah. I honestly,
some people are on day 2 and they're like, F this. I already missed lunch.
I have been eating terribly and making bad decisions almost 30 years now. I could definitely use a little more practice on some of these things that seem difficult.
Right.
Or like, oh, I don't have time for all that. I don't really want to count my macros. So although I say, give you a big philosophical answers, like figure out what you want to do. If you want some results, set it up to where you can continue forever,
right?
So that you don't get results and then lose them. the same way we're talking about doing all these little things. You got to come in the gym and ease into your workout. You have to come into, you've got to, when your body's telling you something. I just had a conversation with some new clients earlier, like yesterday, like when you're sitting there and you're pissed off and you're confused about what's going on, and you used to do X, you used to do Spartan races, you used to squat 400 and something pounds,
right?
Whatever the case may be. That's great. And that's awesome. You don't get to get rid of that. That didn't not happen just because you're injured or fat or overweight or whatever the heck you think.
Been out of the game
whatever,
for
fall
10
off
years.
the wagon,
Yeah.
whatever the heck it might be. But waking up tomorrow morning, Monday morning, and putting yourself on macros and not really being invested in it is not going to work. Yeah. But if you're like, all right, Michael, like that's enough screwing around, get your crap together. Monday morning, here's your macro count. Boom, do your meal prep. Don't be a punk. Let's get after it.
Yeah.
Because I want to make some changes and I want them now. Like that's legitimate. That's real. You're investing yourself into it.
Right.
But to put your whole dependency on this macro plan, this nutritionist, this coach, this trainer, your husband, your wife, whatever, to put all of that anywhere else besides internal and decide that it's going to work and be willing to do the work and try 6 months from now and you haven't made any progress and you're really trying, maybe it's not your thing.
Yeah.
maybe that's not the best approach.
Well, and you know what, man? Not only that, maybe it could be your thing.
Yeah.
Down the road. So like one of the biggest things.
Maybe 6 months wasn't long enough.
Yeah. Well, so one of the biggest things that we see with If It Fits Your Macros is the problem with adherence, right? Like any freaking diet, the best diet is the one that you can stick to. I would say if I were to put it like on a hierarchy, I would say that If It Fits Your Macros is like level 5, right? Not eating fast food for every single meal. That's like level 1. And a lot of people that are starting out with us are at level 1.
At least closer to level 1.
Super close to level 1. They're eating fast food.
And a lot of times
3 times a week or whatever.
A lot of times they don't think they are.
Right. They're like, oh.
I have been there too, where I'm like, dude, and I worked my ass off. Like I worked out so freaking hard at 200 and almost 30 something pounds. Just heavy.
Oh, that's right. You were that big.
Thick for myself.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I look like a little marble. I look like a little marble, a little cat's eye marble.
With great hair.
Yeah, dude. But I was just like in the gym, people still then, even like people who were more healthy, more fit.
Sure.
They didn't come up and they weren't like, hey, maybe you should. No, they were just like, bro, that was a sick squat. And I was like, thanks. Hey, how much was that on your deadlift? Because we'd be in the rec center, like, all the power lifters hanging out. But you know what I mean? Like it's rises and falls, waves, peaks and valleys, like whatever your ish is, you have to stop for a moment, especially if you feel like you might be wanting to start a macro diet or you want to be starting to really fix your nutrition. Then you owe it to yourself, especially if you're not powerlifting in college or got this CrossFit competition this weekend or a triathlon coming up.
Right.
Like if you don't have something specific, which I don't, as a trainer is weird.
Yeah.
At Gold's, we had a competition at least several times a year, times every, couple,
at least once.
6 months, something like that.
It was at least once a year.
And it was fun. It was a big deal. It was a big event. It was great. I liked it. Got to judge, got to be out there all day. It was reminding me of like track meets in high school. Like,
sure,
you do your race and then you just hang out, talk to people all day long. But like while you're going through this thing, if you don't know if that's something, if you don't know where you're at in health and fitness, and you just you're in a gym, or you used to be this whatever athlete and now you're in a gym, you've got to know what that end goal is. Like I can tell the camera, everybody right now, like I don't have a desire. Maybe it'll change. I don't have a desire to do a competition. I don't have a desire to do a race. I do have a really heavy, like almost like I can feel it in my heart to like look in the mirror and be like, oh, dude, you did it.
Damn,
you look good. And
look at me.
And not be wary about what's going to happen the next day after I finally hit that point where I feel like, and I've been there. I've literally been further along aesthetically than I am now. But I wasn't healthy.
Yeah, you're talking about sustainability,
and you can do
looking
that
in the mirror, liking what you know.
You
like
can
what
totally
you see
do that with macros.
Yeah,
you can totally do that with macros, and it's a beautiful process. It makes sense. Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Like, just do Do it. Put them into place. If you don't have no idea, sit down and look at them. But after like a few months, if you're really really trying, and it's just like this impossible struggle, like then reevaluate, pivot, and move. It might not be that this macro plan works, but using macros along with your lifestyle, and
Right.
being flexible with things and going to kids' party, whatever. Macro is just a good way to look at and be like, you know what? This was beneficial. That's what I think about when I think about my macros that I did. Like it was beneficial to me because I know 150% when I'm being an ass, when I'm eating like an a-hole, when I'm eating like a piece of, yeah. And
Jesus Christ,
I can
man.
come in here and kill it in the gym. I can have somebody tell me like, man, you're so fit. And I'm like, yeah, I just had noodles last night. I just had 2 things of ramen noodles at 1 a.m. Like, I don't do that all the time, but you know what I mean? Like, it's so easy just to like not try that hard and think that you're really putting in effort.
Wow, dude. I had no idea you had all these feelings about
I don't ever say them out.
I
I don't ever say them out. I don't ever say them out loud.
That was
And
like an impassioned speech.
the only reason is because when I see people telling other people about it, like, oh,
Right.
you should try macros. My initial thought is like, you better be careful. But that's not
You're
the
like,
answer either.
tell them the full thing.
Yeah, don't be fearful. First off, if you're sitting there trying to think about what you should do for your health and fitness and you're overweight and you feel like garbage and you can't get up the stairs, or you're not sleeping right, or your kids are, whatever, it might be this big that you need to fix before you're feeling real tip top, or like at least streamlined a little bit or better. But you have to pay attention to it.
Well, that's a
awareness. Like there's a lot of the books they just came in here to get the anatomy book.
Uh-huh.
And I was telling them like, there's all these books over here, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, all of these motivational, business oriented, entrepreneurial, like make changes, discipline your mind kind of books that I've read and looked at and have at my source,
Yeah.
And when you skim them and look at them, you have to figure out what's going to be applicable to you. Or when you listen to somebody talk about macros, you're only hearing the things that apply to you. So you're hearing loss in weight. You're hearing
fat loss.
Easy. You're hearing fat loss. You're hearing
I could
simple.
I could have cupcakes, and that's all you're caring about.
Yeah. And your body, even though, you know what, I've argued with people before about that. Not because I didn't know the difference, but because I could tell their brain was trying to convince them otherwise. To tell yourself that there's no difference between a Twinkie and a banana.
Right.
For some, which I have done, which is why I'm saying it, is BS. It's you telling yourself it's okay that you ate a Twinkie.
Right.
When you don't even really want the Twinkie, you just want to be contrarian. You just want to go against the grain.
Yeah.
You just want to fill that space that's like Twinkie and a banana are kind of the same thing. As long as I eat this Twinkie and don't eat anything else the rest of the day, I'm good. Which is an exaggeration because a Twinkie's like what, like 100-something calories?
I don't
maybe?
freaking know. It's up there, but
yeah.
Have
you eaten a Twinkie?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I had a Twinkie.
I've eaten a Twinkie.
But yeah, man.
I think I'm more of like a zebra cake kind of person.
I do love zebra cakes. And then I like they have gas station oatmeal cream pies where it's a they have a double-decker gas station oatmeal cream pie. That is like, for a while there, that was like my lifeblood. I was addicted to those little suckers, those little hockey pucks of cream and oatmeal. They're so damn good.
So if the ice cream truck came through the neighborhood, you'd be getting...
the ice cream truck?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's been so long since I've seen an ice cream truck. I would say, okay.
What do you see?
Okay. The last time I had,
I'm seeing it right now.
Dude, the last time I had an ice
over
cream
here. They're like stopped at that. They're stopped like 3 houses down, and I'm like, come over here to me.
I always justified my ice cream truck purchases because I always had to chase down our asshole of a ice cream truck driver. I would sprint like at least 50 yards.
We didn't. You didn't even have to wait.
All the down.
We could be outside shooting baskets at my grandparents' house and then run back inside. And he would be down the road and he'd still stop out front because he knew we were running back inside to
get money for him.
Yeah, money to be like, listen, guys, I know we just ate lunch. You hear the music, right? To the point where my grandmother would just be like, it's on the counter.
Yeah, I remember. I do remember getting like a Ninja Turtles popsicle, and then one of the last ones
with the gumball eyes.
Yep. One of the last ones I ever ate was an Avatar: The Last Airbender, like an Aang with like a gross arrow.
You were still hitting ice cream trucks later on.
Oh yeah, I love ice cream trucks.
Mine was Tweety Bird
What
with the eyeballs,
uh-huh.
and then like chamoy cucumbers.
Oh wow.
Just like all this. I'm like a
Jesus.
bucket of sodium and a cucumber.
And you know, if it fits your macros, cucumbers are worth 0. Cucumbers, they're
What
actually
after the chamoy, chili,
actually-
salt, and lime juice.
They're-
I don't know.
cucumbers on their own are thermogenic. They actually cost you calories to
It's like
digest.
celeries.
Little pro tip for you if you're doing if it fits your macros. One of the things that, like, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, one of the things that I noticed with our people is if it fits your macros, or really any like higher level where you have a really specific eating protocol, that needs to come after you have already laid a foundation, a couple other levels down. So if you're just starting out, like we said, like level 1, you're eating fast food every single day, you're not sleeping. The last time you had a sip of water was, I don't know, in 5th grade at recess. That is where you really want to start. You want to start cooking more food at home. You want to start drinking more water, that kind of thing.
Heck yeah.
And then what happens is you start to, I don't know, you start to grow in capacity, I guess you could say, right? You start you start be able to handle other more strict, more complicated protocols. And then as you grow, as you gain more capability, you become more capable, then you can start taking things on, like if it fits your macros, carb cycling, which I would consider carb cycling as, in terms of complexity, like the top thing, right? But it all comes back to the reason I say if it fits your macros is such a good like intro into the complex is because regardless if you're doing keto, carb cycling, I don't know, whatever, Renaissance periodization, whatever, it all gets down to the same thing, which is you have to eat this amount of protein, this amount of carbs, and this amount of fats.
Yeah.
They really are the same thing.
Yeah.
They really are.
RP's all, it's super macros.
It's just macros, just a different percentages.
To the tune of anybody who knows RP, it's like, well, you know, you can have gummy bears on your on your plan.
So if you're thinking about doing if it fits your macros, what I always recommend is starting off smaller, starting off a little slower, and thinking about what are my big opportunities right now in terms of my lifestyle. If you are eating fast food every day, is there a way to curb that? Start eating a little bit more at home. If you are, having 0 protein in your life, you're eating nothing but pasta and fat, is there a way to start incorporating some more of that in there? And starting off really, really simple and really loose. Because what that's going to do is it's going to build a foundation that you can eventually move into something as specific as macros, move into something as specific as keto or carb cycle, whatever the hell you want to do. The problem is that people go into these diets as a cure-all. They're like, hey, I've been super unhealthy for the past 15 years. And if I go on to if it fits your macros, or if I go on to keto or carb cycling or whatever, fill in the blank, then that's going to solve all my problems. And it doesn't work that way, because adherence is a very, very real variable that you have to take into consideration. If you're not doing your diet, then it doesn't matter how good your diet is on paper. So when they jump into this thing, if they don't have, if they're going from 0 to level 5, then you're just waiting to fall off the wagon. You're just asking to have to start over. So I don't ever recommend that.
Just waiting for the scale to stop.
Yes, man. It's like, just first up, think about what you really want. Have your vision. Awesome. Now, to get to that vision, you have to have your series of goals. And then after that, you can build a process. And most of the time, I'm a big old nerd. So like when you're starting out a video game, if you were to, somehow skip, like put in a cheat code or whatever, and skip to the final boss, and you're on level 1 of the game, you're going to get your ass kicked every single time. And after a sufficient amount of ass kickery, you're going to stop. You're going to rage quit the game. You're going to be like, F this game. I'm done playing it. This isn't for me. I need to go buy another console. That type of shit.
Which is the whole plan.
So
that's the man, baby. That's the man.
So, but instead, what you got to do is you have to level up. You have to take your time, learn the skill sets, build up your capacity, and then when you're ready, you go in and you take on the final boss. And the
Level
final,
up.
yeah, man. And
Dude,
I would say they're up there, man.
that was pretty good.
Ah,
Even though
thanks.
you were like, I'm nerd, so that's like completely applicable, man.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I'm a
I'm a huge
nerd.
nerd, so
I'm a nerd.
when you're playing video games, you gotta understand. I played God of War over quarantine.
Oh, me too.
The problem with it is that I used to play a lot of video games.
Yeah,
Free roaming kind of video games like Assassin's Creed and stuff.
sure.
So when I played, and even Bianca was like, "You should play this video game."
Michael's wife.
My wife, like to the point where she would like be there. Hey, are you gonna play today? And I would sit and play for a little bit, and I played.
Oh,
for
that's right. She was watching.
She would watch the game.
She would watch you play the game. It's so good.
And there would be some times
that
when
makes
I
me
would
happy.
find something because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. The
Yeah.
game literally was like, "Do this next."
Go
and I was like,
here.
"I'll do it tomorrow." And then there I was, trying to fight this crazy Valkyrie that was like, "Oh, by the way, you need this sword that you're supposed to get tomorrow."
Right. Right.
And I'm like, I'm like, this game's so stupid.
This is impossible.
And then you look up online, you look up on the age of technology, you look up online, they're like, "Oh yeah, wait until tomorrow."
Yeah.
Then you can do it. Why didn't you just do that? That's what it said to do.
You need the Valkyrie sword. It's like,
Yes.
right.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. You need the if it fits your macros shield.
When you said earlier, I like what you said about levels. Like maybe you're not at that level yet, right? Like even carb cycling being a higher level, if you will. You have to give yourself enough grace and be when you feel those feelings of like uncomfortability and stuff. That's one thing, but when you have that constant, heavy, foggy, hazy kind of just like all the time. You get home from work and you're pissed. You're on your way to work and you're not that happy. Like maybe you had a good weekend and you're just like, boom, let's get it. Monday starts again. You're just like, here we go again. And you're at the gym and you're doing these things and you're all in, you're at this level here.
Yeah.
And you're already, the thing is warranted that you are ready to step up and do this thing. Otherwise, you're not going to feel accomplished. You're not going to get to that next stage. Like you have to realize what level you're at mentally, emotionally, physically, to be able to build this plan for yourself.
Right.
And then when you start that way, it makes more sense because your macros can be this beautiful tool, especially if you're eating fast food for every meal or going out to eat 4 or 5 times a week. And you're not, or like, and you say you don't like to cook, but you've never actually cooked anything. Like there's these steps, these levels. We talked about it one time. We were having a conversation in here. One of those times where we were like, we should have had this as a podcast. but
we have a lot of those.
We were talking and you were like, you're saying about these things. And I was saying about these things that we have, the way things went down, this. And now here we are. And it's like the same situations, but we're killing it this way and this way.
Right.
And you were the one that was like, you weren't big enough. I wasn't big enough for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready.
I remember that convo.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing. Like it's okay. Maybe you're really into martial arts. Maybe you're really into tennis. Maybe there's something specific. That doesn't mean you need to be a professional tennis player or a professional martial artist. Sprinkle that into your thing. The workouts should be like we said last time, the cherry on top. The diet, although crazy difficult and like the hardest part, abs are made in the kitchen. 80-20, you got to get it figured out. Like if you're at 0 mentally, emotionally, physically, one step in the right direction is going to get you going.
Right.
And you might be just here spinning in a little circle, trying to figure out like what to do next.
Right.
Waiting for somebody to grab you, pull you out. You just might need to stand up for a second.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, clearly I can't do this on my own. Or, hey, clearly I'm not trying hard enough.
Right.
Clearly my macros that I've been doing for the last 6 months were not really my macros. Like,
yeah.
I screwed around so much I didn't even really try.
Or they gave me the wrong macros.
Well, that's what I mean.
That
like
kind of shit.
People saying people pretending like they deserve these results.
Right.
When the work wasn't put in.
Right.
When the real work wasn't put in. Okay, maybe you were eating fast food every meal and now you're cooking. but you're skipping breakfast. You're eating at 11:30 at
Yeah,
night.
there's other
You've got to be up at 4 a.m.
right.
Like there's a lot of things that you can work on to get your macros to make sense, to get your macros to be like, you know what, I don't even have to freaking think about this.
Right.
Because here's the amount of food I'm supposed to be eating, and I'm getting results, and my kids are happier, and my family's like, what the heck are you doing? My sisters, my brothers, everybody's like, man, you are killing it. And and if you can find a better balance, it's not so stressful. People don't see you like, oh, no. I can't participate in our annual family thing.
Right.
Because I'm on my diet.
Right.
Like I know we did it every year the past 45 years, but 46, I'm not doing it anymore because I ain't gonna get fit.
Yeah. I can't eat
your once a year.
I can't eat your flautas because if I do, it's gonna
bring them over here. I'll eat the flautas.
See, that's the thing, man. When you
got all amped up there,
I know you got into it, man.
Swivel chair.
When you,
I'm like, it makes me. We've had talks on here where we're just like looking at each other, like, say something important. You know what I mean?
I don't tell people
but
that.
Last time we were like,
everything we say is important.
Last time we both were like, that was pretty good. That was okay. This one too, I'm just like, I'm getting all sweaty.
Yeah, we've had more.
I turned down the AC earlier and I'm just like, it's real. It's a big deal for us to, we need to lean on each other, not just in our gym community, but in all of your gym communities. You know what I mean? Like everywhere. I was watching a YouTube video and I don't know if anybody's seen him. It's a great YouTube channel. Old country Western cowboy. And he cooks out of like a chuck wagon out in the woods, like his big old mustache. Hey, all y'all doing there today? We're going to make some Mexican rice. And I was like,
I love him.
I was like, I want to watch this video.
I love him already. I've never seen him.
I want to watch this video for sure. Had my like grandmother's recipe here, and like these 4 or 5 Hispanic videos that I watched. Hey, I'm gonna show you how to make Mexican rice, and it was beautiful. At the very end of the video, he goes, y'all, this is so good. He goes, I'm telling you, there's one way we're going to connect this world, and it's going to be through food.
Right.
It's beautiful. Transcends all things. You ain't got to say nothing. You can just sit here and eat together, and it's just right. It's just right. And the whole time I was like, man, I want some of that rice so bad. But he has this way about him. Yeah. That's how he's living his life. This man is here making rice for YouTube, telling people like, hey, if you guys would just slow down a little bit and make this rice and just, enjoy the process and follow my directions, it'll feel good. It'll taste good. People will enjoy it and you'll be happier.
And war will end.
Yeah.
The clouds will part and we'll come together as a nation.
And so once you go to that side, it's like, your rice ain't shit. Your rice ain't going to help. Once your rice isn't going to. So there you are with your macro plan. Like, just like, this is going to fix everything. Just write me my macros so that I can get my life together. Yeah. And I'm with you. I have felt the same way, done the same thing, and failed and learned that it's okay to feel that way. Once you get through this phase and you're ready to really establish some groundwork, understand that it needs to be tangible. And when I say tangible, I mean it needs to be genuine. It needs to be real. It needs to be something that you're willing to stand for. Like your kids or like your loved one or like whatever the case may be.
You're talking about what's actually pushing you and fueling you and making you want to be successful.
Because macros work for anybody, but so many people start macros without ever actually starting their journey. You know what I mean? They're just they're doing macros hoping that by the time they get to this number on the scale, this way in the mirror, their so-and-so says like, hey, you're looking good. Like whatever that validation is, now I'm motivated. Now the ball is rolling. Now I'm kicking ass.
Yeah.
And you can fall into that and kick butt and look good and go on your bike rides and do your thing all day long. I'm talking about myself. Go on your bike rides all day long and eat the right foods and never skip anything and don't cheat and don't drink and don't like you can do all of that and still be unhealthy.
Right.
Because without that stimulation, life happens and you're done. That's just going to swipe you off because there's no foundation whatsoever.
Right.
You've built on top of sand.
Yeah. You're balancing on a pinhead.
Maybe you're good. Maybe you're so good. Maybe your core is strong and you
willpower wise.
You've meditated and your balance is just, people are amazed at how balanced you are. But if you're just constantly ping-ponging all day long, like, that's great. Maybe you're skillful and you've got the technique, your backhand is solid, but eventually someone's going to come along and kick your ass. Like some, and whether that be life or, you know, macros or whatever, something's going to come along and just be not enough. It's not going to, you're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. See, when we're talking about, like, when we're talking to our members, that's such a good point. When we're talking to our members, we very often take the unsexy approach. So many people want to come at this thing with, like, here's the answer. It's keto. It's if it fits your macros, whatever, fill in the blank. And because they work.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, physiologically, if you were to follow the plan, yeah, they'll work for you. Because they all put you into a caloric deficit. They all follow the different protocols that are necessary for lipolysis, for fat loss. That's just biology.
Yeah.
The trick, though, is what do you have to do to actually create a different pathway for these individuals? What is going to get them onto this new way of living that will take them into the body that they want, almost as like a side effect, right?
Yeah.
And that's so not sexy, because it's a lot of time. It's a lot of really kind of underwhelming steps at the very, very beginning. So, for example, we have I was on a focus call with one of our members, and she was talking to me. She's like, I feel like I just need a new plan. She was asking for one of our old lists, one of our old shopping lists that we used to give out. And I was like, I really don't want to give you that, because if I do, you'll follow it for, until life comes and knocks you off your balance, and then you won't follow it anymore. Instead, let's sit down and talk. Let's figure out what's going on. And then through the course of about a 20-minute conversation, we realized that every morning when she wakes up, she feels like garbage. She's nauseous. She feels just gross in the morning. And I said, how long does that feeling last? And she says, till about 1:00 in the afternoon. I said,
more than that.
What? That's your whole freaking day. I don't care how.
2:00 is when people get tired.
Dude, that's when people like go home. Like,
they're like, oh, I'm so tired. So what time is it? 2:30? She's just now starting.
Exactly. Well, no, just starting to feel, quote unquote,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Normal. So in that situation, it doesn't freaking matter what plan I gave her. I could be like, hey, check it out. You're going to have 0.75 grams of protein per every pound of body weight that you want to be. We're going to do 30% of carbs, 20% of fat. On top of that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because she feels like garbage in the morning.
Yeah.
Right? She's going to be miserable for the rest of her life unless we address that first. Also, the likelihood that somebody who feels like that is going to follow any type of plan that specific and that nuanced is really low.
Yeah.
Really super low. So instead, we talked about, well, what's going on that makes you feel that way? Anyway, make a super long conversation short. It was about 20 minutes that we talked. It looks like she might have an allergy or at least a sensitivity to gluten. Right? She walked me through her day. I was like, what's going on? How long have you felt like this? She's like, as long as I can remember. What have you been doing what else have you been doing as long as you can remember? Oh, I've been eating these things for a snack for as long as I can remember. Oh, those contain this. Turns out she's also lactose intolerant. That's also been diagnosed. That tends to go hand in hand with a gluten sensitivity. So we hit it from that angle. And now she's 3 days in. It's an experiment, right? So she's 3 days into the experiment, and she's woken up starting today. I talked to her today, and she doesn't have the nausea in the morning. That shit is going to blow out how many freaking grams of protein you need every single day of the week, because now she's going to wake up. She's going to have some energy. She's going to be able to build some momentum throughout her day, and that's going to lay the foundation for any other plan that we want to put on top of it. That's the shit that needs to happen. Now, some of you beautiful people out there might be there. You already might have a good amount of momentum. You're like, dude, I'm cooking from home every day. I am working out 5 times a week. I'm drinking my gallon of water. I'm getting plenty of sleep. I have tons of energy. I feel freaking fantastic, and I'm ready for the next thing. Hell yeah, I'll do your macros for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not there yet, you need to be asking yourself why. And if you think that if it fits your macros or keto or carb cycling or whatever is going to get you to feel like that, you are kidding yourself, because it is a chore. Make no mistake, as simple as it might be, it is not easy. It is a tedious chore to have to go into a freaking app and put in all your stuff. It can be worth it if you're ready for it.
It's that first world issue.
Yeah, man. If you're not ready for it, if you're waking up every single morning and you don't feel rested, then you can then that's just going to be an extra stress on top of an already weakened not formula. What's the word I'm looking for? On already weakened process. Yeah.
Program.
Not program, not process.
Plan.
Not sequence. Routine.
Routine.
Yeah, you're putting a more complex weight onto an
weekend.
already stressed.
Like weekend.
Yeah, weekend. Like it's already your
Saturday,
process.
Sunday.
No, weekend. Like, oh, I feel weak. You son of a gun.
That's all I get. You kept saying weekend, trying to figure out the word, and I was like Saturday process, Saturday plan.
If you're not on the wagon, if it fits your macros, look, nothing but love for you. I don't mean to insult you or to call into question your willpower, but you are not ready yet. If you are off the wagon and you're not working out at all and you're eating whatever the hell you want at any time of day you want, then you need to start smaller and give yourself a freaking fighting chance. Why do people want to punish themselves all the time? They just want to jump to level 5 and get their ass kicked.
I was watching something the other day, and he was I can't remember who the conversation was between, but one of them was saying, I think it's culture. Culture's probably done it. And the guy was like, dude, my kids are 10. What culture have they experienced?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, just to myself in the car at the parking lot at HEB, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I remember my brother getting a phone and me thinking like, man, I can't wait till I get a phone. And then I got one, and I was still pretty young. Like I wasn't in college yet.
Yeah.
But it was just like, whoa, we have phones. Like, this is crazy. And it was like the little Nokia thing, the little Nokia brick or whatever.
Yeah. Indestructible.
But yeah, you could throw it across the parking lot. You'd just be like, boom, boom. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just threw my phone across the parking lot. People always say that. They're like, it was indestructible. You could throw this thing down the stairs. I'm like, why are you throwing your phone down the stairs?
I just love the idea of you on the phone with somebody and being like, yeah, no, I think that's due Thursday. Hang on a second.
Hello? Yeah. Hey, it's me, Mom. Yeah. Pick me up at 3.
Sorry, I had to do something super important.
To pretend like we're not influenced by all of the things that stimulate us. Television, telephones. Culture is embedded into our society now to a point where a child coming up with weight issues knows that they have weight issues and is uncomfortable. Before, when I could run around like a chubby little kid, I was still uncomfortable. I wore my shirt in the pool.
Right. So part of you knew.
Something in me knew, but my parents weren't like, oh, sweetheart, it's because you're fat.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And that's what
that does happen.
That's what some parents are pretty much doing. And I'm not saying that's what parents are doing. That's not what, but that's pretty much what happens now. Cultural, everything. They're like, oh, my kid's fine. No, dude, there's so many people out there trying to screw up this whole thing for everybody.
Right.
Just because there's money to be made.
Yeah.
Or because something worked for them and this is the answer.
Right.
Whatever the case may be, like you're here, you're doing your thing. You owe it to yourself, especially if you don't have a specific athletic approach, MMA, CrossFit,
right?
Strength training,
freaking
walking,
soccer,
power
whatever.
Walking, ninja warrior stuff, like whatever your ish is. Even if you don't have one of those and you know that you're overweight and trying to struggle to get back on the wagon, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to start macros. My answer to you is obviously, of course, let's sit down and talk. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say, yes, I'll do your macros, because at the end of the day,
holy shit,
what is that going to change about our life thus far that has put us in this place where we think tomorrow morning starting macros is going to fix everything. And I know that's not what, speaking, because we started the podcast with Tracy, I know that's not what she's saying.
Right.
But
Sure.
she's well beyond
Sure.
that. Tracy's
Right.
been in and out of the ringer with fitness and health. She's in the military. She's got, PT tests. There's a lot of things there's variables that play into her specific situation.
Right. And she may be ready.
And that's what's so
at level
important for
5 or
people to
whatever.
understand. These levels. That's why I like that you said that, like these levels, this level of intensity. You don't get to be at level 5 if you're at level 1.
Right.
You don't get to do that. That's just not how it works. You can try it, but I promise you it's going to be super hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good resolve, if you haven't practiced failing a bunch, it's not going to work. If you're sitting, quote unquote, not to be tongue in cheek, if you're sitting fat and happy, you're not going to be able to wake up tomorrow and be shredded and do 20 pull-ups or whatever the hell it is that you're trying to do.
I mean, also, man, like shit.
Feel comfortable at the pool.
I love what you just said. If you're not practiced in failing, what a freaking awesome concept that is. Because for things like if it fits your macros, if you don't know how to miss a day or screw up a meal and not immediately, I'm talking like the next meal, get back on the wagon and track it anyway, just because that's your process and that's what you're supposed to do. If you don't know how to do that and you're not comfortable doing that, then you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're
or
just
plugging in your bad food. Like lunch
just
happens at work and you're eating chocolate or whatever with friends and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I'm just not going to
Right.
put that in there because that doesn't count because that's not what I'm supposed to be eating.
Yeah.
Just put it in there. Put it in there so you can have it for yourself, not to punish or chastise.
Yeah. You're by definition not ready yet. And that's okay.
You got to fortify that.
There are, and by denying yourself those beginning stages of development, you are forever putting yourself in a position where you can never win.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And the only reason that we are repeating ourselves on this topic now, I realize, like as you go and I go, we're talking.
We might be repeating
Well,
ourselves.
it's not that we're not necessarily repeating, but I think the only reason we're harping on it is because I think both of us have failed enough now, have struggled enough and pretended enough as trainers and as just people in the world that look like whatever your thing may be, corporate exec, stay-at-home mom, whatever the heck it is, none of that stuff matters. You have this much time on the world. And I heard a quote the other day. I can't remember who said it, but it's in my head and I repeated it twice already the last 2 days and I still haven't looked up who said it. I think it was whatever. He says, instead of trying to add so many years to your life, why don't you add life to these years that you have?
Oh,
I was like, Jim Quick. I was like, oh, shut up. You don't know. And he even says that in some of his podcasts. He's like, everyone listening right now is probably like, oh, shut up. I hate this Asian man. But you got to be real. You got to be real with yourself. And if you're not going to do it, listen to somebody else. Hold a mirror to your face for a little while, for a couple of months while you're trying.
Yeah.
Fortify that failure. Fortify that thing so that you fail less and less.
Yeah.
So that you're like, okay, yeah, dude, sister-in-law, cousin, whoever, loved one, friend, children.
Yeah.
Totally have been there. I know exactly what you're going through. No big deal.
Well, yeah. I mean, and so to answer the question, if it fits your macros, is it worthwhile? Hell yeah. If you're ready. And that's a huge caveat because most people aren't. They're just not. They're not ready yet. And that's okay, right? Most people haven't put in the groundwork to be ready for something as systematic and as arduous and as tedious as following something like if it fits your macros. If you are there, if you've already kind of been like watching what you eat, you do really, really well. You cook all your food already. You feel great during the day and you're just ready for that next thing that'll get that last little 3%, 5% body fat off. Hell yes. If it fits your macros can really, really be a useful tool, but that's all it is. It's a tool. It's not an answer. The answer is you. The answer is making sure is you putting in the work to be successful on the various plans that you put together. And so if you put together a plan that is too difficult, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be spinning your wheels forever. And then you're going to be mad. And then you're going to move on to the next overly complex plan that you're not ready for. And you're going to try that for 2 months. And you're going to be mad at that. And you quit that.
Yeah.
And then you'll just be on this perpetual cycle. That's how we see people yo-yo. Well, I did this for this long, and then I did this for that
I used
long.
to do, yeah.
Yeah, and this really worked for me. Okay, well, do you have a six-pack right now? No.
Yeah.
Well, then it didn't work for you.
There's so many variables that get in the way of this thing, man. But for the simplistic version of it, if you're eating like a garbage disposal, just the waste, the things that
Yeah.
the stuff that falls off, like, you know what I mean? Not even going to get fast food or eating sweets or whatever. But if you're just like eating the waste, eating the stuff that you
Garbage.
fell down, like it's just there. That's what it is. Like,
Yeah, it's
like
garbage.
I get it. It's one thing to be at a birthday party and have cake and like pizza or whatever the case. And there's so many different situations that you can apply to that hypothetical.
Yeah.
But all in all, like you're eating the stuff that you normally probably would throw away anyway. Like it's the stuff that so stop being wasteful, you know, bring it down. There's a lot of little things that you can work on as far as getting your food in check.
Yeah.
Before you're ready to eat, you know, 4 to 6 grams of protein and, you know, 210 grams of carbs a day. And
Because it doesn't work. It's not sustainable.
and it's
People
just
don't last.
it's just a different level.
Yeah.
It's just a different level, and the industry and people, trainers were jaded, and it's just like there's so much confusion between it. So here we are just banging our heads together like we'll
Yeah.
get it eventually, and one of us has to stop and be like, hey, for real, I'm trying to get my stuff together. Can you help me?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we can help each other for sure.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
What is that?
when you oh, that's the computer. Michael's so passionate, he's hitting the desk and removing the computer from its keyboard.
He's like, it's the second time I was like, what is happening?
Look, guys, if you are wanting to try Fit Your Macros, freaking do it. There is a YouTube video out there, I am sure, that covers how to figure out your macros. I recommend a 50-30-20 split where you're doing 50% protein, 30% carbs, 20% fats. Go nuts. Put yourself into I don't know, what do you say? At the very most, a 20% caloric deficit, and then do the math from there. It's easy. You divide the protein by 4, divide the carbs by 4, divide the fats by 9. There you go. That's how you figure out your macros. But if you actually want to be successful,
People pausing.
Really? You're gonna do that right before the podcast?
What an ass. All right, guys, here's all the answers. Blah, 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 blah.
Dude, it's all out there. It's all, you can Google any of this, right? But the reason that people are not successful on it is because they try to jump to that level before they're ready. So if you're really serious, then the first thing you got to do is take a step back and be super honest with yourself about what level you're currently at. Are you cooking from home every single day? Because if you're not doing that shit, then you're not ready to follow Fit Your Macros. Because trying to calculate out what you had at Chili's is freaking impossible, because you don't know what kind of oil they use to cook the meat. You don't know what kind of if they put anything else in the rice. You just don't know, right? So if you're not cooking from home on the reg, then you're not ready yet. That's just basic logistics. Take a second, think about where you're at right now, and know that there are easier, simpler things that you can master first before you take on these higher level protocols and take on these more difficult to use tools, because that's all they are. They're just tools. So don't glorify them. Glorify your process. Glorify yourself.
Yeah.
Take a step back, figure out what level you're at, and figure out what the next step would be in order to get to level 2 to level 3 or wherever the hell you are. And if you need help with that, then talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, and they can help you. They can help you kind of think through those things, ask you the right questions so that you can move forward and be successful. You can move forward in a way that's going to allow you to win.
Beautiful.
Cool. Good luck. That's my take on it.
That was beautiful. That was
Thanks,
so good.
man.
The process has got to fit the processee.
That's right.
And the problem is that we are here trying to process ourselves without knowing that, without not that we don't know. It's that we're pretending like we're at this certain level.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go into this thing at this level.
Yeah.
And even if you are babying it, like, how old are you? Number one. So unless you are, I'm even gonna say 20 or younger. And that's a big age. I can remember one time. I remember one time I was out, we were having drinks, right? We were having drinks downtown, and I was meeting some friends, and my wife's friends were there. And one of the peeps in the group was like, How old are you? How old are you? I was like,
Here, I'll set the atmosphere.
you know, how old are you? What? How old are you? I was like 24. Oh my God, you're a baby. I remember when I was 24. I was like, didn't you say you're 26? She was like, oh my God, so long ago. I was like, shut up. Yeah, I'm like, shut up. Shut up. You don't know. You don't. I've talked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll give you 20 or less
Yeah.
before you really need to be like, all right. And then if you're not there, like if you try to make some of these big grown up decisions and you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Get some help. We've talked about it before on the podcast. Like reach out, get some help. Google Age of Technology. If you're over there watching, 10 YouTube videos a day on this specific thing that you're trying to see, your series that you're trying to watch, or you're watching episodes of whatever, filter in some episodes of the shit that you're trying to get accomplished, because it's out there.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, change channels, go somewhere else, figure something else out. I can show you some, like reach out, get help, put these things in play, because it's just going to be 5, 10, 2 years from now before you're like, okay, for real. All right, for real. Let's do it.
Woo! Here we go. This time for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you catch yourself saying this time it's going to be different, and you haven't changed anything from the last time, then it's not gonna. It's just not,
dude,
man. It sucks. It's not gonna be any different. You're gonna freaking do the exact same thing that you did last time.
Perspective is key. I've got 60, 80, 70-year-old clients that are like, I just gotta really get things going. Monday, I'm gonna get things started. I'm like, I thought and with the exception of me like hiding in the fridge.
Yeah.
Or like living at their house.
Well, you're like, what about the last 850 Mondays?
So if you are,
How long would that be?
if you're struggling
Years.
and you're having some troubles, but that's a good, I know you're not there with me, but that's a good perspective. Imagine what you're going to be like when you're 40, when you're 45, when you're 80, when you're whatever age from where you're at now, and you're not dealing with these things that you're having ideas about currently.
Yeah.
Because you're clearly like, hey, I want to fix some stuff. That's fleeting, dude. You don't act on that. It's just a thought. It's just knowledge that you're learning. It's just questions that you're asking.
We should do an episode about that. Because you're right. That they a lot of times people come to us for the first time because they get that emotion, right? They get that, I don't know, some spark hits, or
not even a week goes by.
Yeah, they see themselves on a video or something, and so they get this big emotional push to go and change something, and then they're like, yeah, and a week goes by. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And then that emotion fades. And now they're right back where they started again, because there's no foundation. Don't be lazy. I know it sounds weird because I'm telling you to do the easier thing, but sometimes taking a couple steps back and doing the easier thing on the short end will make you way more successful in the long end.
That's what I was saying. I got all passionate. That's what I was saying. You might have to start at this babyer version, and you might be playing it safe. But that's okay. What would you tell your child? You know what I mean? And I know everybody has different. There's some, but the majority.
That's what you were getting.
The majority is like, well, they're gonna flip over eventually. Okay, watch them. Make sure they don't bonk their head on the corner there. Like that's normal. They have help. It's something. I was telling somebody the other day, like for most of our life, in our adolescence, we had help.
Yeah.
And now here you are on your own, essentially a big baby in this one specific thing. Like maybe you're a, like I said earlier, an exec, a stay-at-home mom, whatever it is, whatever your path is, you're killing it in that path as far as that career, that lifestyle, that whatever.
Right.
But your fitness, your health, or whatever, you might be a little baby.
Yeah.
You might be a little infant, and you're gonna need some guidance. And you can guide yourself, but you've got to actually commit to the guidance and act on these things that you're reading and learning and feeling, and like don't let that go away. If you're having that drive, maybe follow that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Take that step. What's it gonna do?
Yeah. Well, just and be patient. It really is harder. It really is harder to be patient and do the simple things than to jump into these really complex. It's easy, man. It's so easy to be like, oh, I'm gonna take on the world and go and do that for a week and then fall off the wagon. That really, I know it sounds harder, but it really is the easy way out. If you truly want to build something that's going to last, take the time, step back, and train yourself and grow your capacity so you're not that little baby anymore.
We got too emotional here at the end.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because look, if you are a executive, right? Most executives didn't start out as executives. They started out in the freaking mailroom, or they started out coming out of college. You start learning from zero. You start learning from nothing, right? If you are I don't know, give me another thing that you're mastered at. If you're an artist, right? You're
race car driver.
You're a race car driver. You didn't start in a freaking Formula One race car going down of, I don't know, Mount Matismo. I don't know shit about Formula One racing, but
Mount Matismo.
Yes, Mount
My
Matismo.
favorite.
You don't just get in the car and start going 200 miles per hour. You start from square one. And it drives me crazy when people think that, oh, cool, all these other areas of my life I have developed. I have taken the time and invested the time and money into building myself up so that I can progress into this next level that I want to get to. And it's awesome. But why, when it comes to their nutrition, which is one of the most important things of their life, are they like, nah, I think I'll skip all that boring shit and go right to the end boss?
Yep.
It's like, no,
Yep.
What are you doing? It drives me crazy. And one of the reasons that we get so passionate, as Michael said, is because we've done the same freaking thing. We've done the exact same mistakes again and again and again. Anyway, it's a cautionary tale. Take your time. Take your time at the beginning. Build up their foundation, build your capacity so that one day when you're ready, you can kick all the ass you want and it'll be effortless.
Yeah.
And
you might
worry about
and
it.
I was going to say real quick before we finish, you might be more ready than you think too. That's another thing that I always feel when I'm talking to people.
I disagree.
You might be more ready than you think. A lot of times people
maybe
like it's a lot more of a rarity because most of us are trying to bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah.
But there is a good percentage of people who know damn well that they're capable and that they can do and that they will do, but they're just waiting for the right moment.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is true. That's a good point.
It might be time just to alleviate that stress, get rid of that nonsensical approach towards dealing with shit as it comes, because you're lining yourself up for shit to hit you.
Yeah.
You're just putting yourself in a place where 6 months ago when I was talking about that, I should have done it. Now here I am 6 months later, dealing with the exact same. I've done this.
That is true.
I've done this,
true.
this, and this, but I never started this thing because I know it's my one. I just got to get my food together.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Like, you're ready now.
You're telling me, and mad respects to mothers out there. I don't know why that was my first thought. Like, you're going to tell me that you're a mother of 4, 5, whatever, 3 even.
Oh, shit.
Kids, and you have this, you're kicking ass. Some of them even have jobs alongside of that. Stay-at-home dads, 3, 4, 5 kids, and a job, whatever the case they may be on the side. But you can't get your food together. You're completely in charge of all of that. That's one thing that all these other things you've had to work for and try. Kids, you don't get to just let it happen. Like, you know exactly how to get things.
Dude, you're about
done.
to get me started on a whole other podcast because you're fucking 100% right. You're telling me, you just blew my mind. You're telling me that you can raise 4 human beings, living people,
or at least try your best,
and keep them alive and get them successful, and you can't freaking get your food together or drink enough water. Look, but here's the thing. I was talking to my dad about this just like right before the show. And what he was talking about was what does it truly mean to be relentless? And he said, so many of us are all sorry. I'm about to calm down. So many of us are already relentless with things like our job, like our family, because we have to be. Because if you're not relentless with your job, you're not going to pay your bills. If you're not relentless with your kids, you might lose a couple of them. You have to do those things. You have to be relentless with those things. And so you are. But when it comes to taking care of ourselves, moms in particular are really bad about this because they're so forthcoming with their they're so self-sacrificing. What it comes down to is you don't need a 6-pack to survive.
No.
You're not gonna lose your home if you don't count your macros on a given day. It's not a necessity. And so in those realms, being relentless is not necessarily the ticket, right? You have to take the time to figure out what you're going to enjoy about the process, so that way you can continually do it and be ready to change. You need to be relentless about pivoting.
Yeah.
You need to be relentless about always being ready, willing, and able to change what you're doing. And you have to start from square one. You have to start from wherever you're at, whatever level you're at right now. You have to start from there and allow yourself to grow.
It's a necessity, and it's
Yeah.
a process, and it's something that we as human beings are able to do.
Yeah.
We are built to be adaptable and change and move and do these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the whole, whatever you may think about our creation, like that's our thing. That's what we do.
Dude.
We don't have to live in this spot.
Right.
We don't have to eat this food.
You're never stuck.
We literally can do anything as far as what you know what I mean? Like with the exception of digging into our imagination,
Right.
we can do whatever. And
Yeah.
the process of raising, I don't have children, so I'm sure plenty of people are like, shut the hell up. I think about my parents, like that's not something that they were like super prepped
Yeah.
for. But it was a learning process, and I'm sure there was pitfalls and things throughout but with the exception of tossing those kids, tossing us out, they figured it out.
Right.
Right.
Because they had to. We do what is necessary.
And if you dig into it, people are like, oh, it just happened. You chose to have kids. You chose. Don't throw that up at me. You chose to, and you have them now.
They were a surprise,
and it's great, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But now you have to adapt and pivot, and that for the majority of the population, that's a necessity. So put yourself in that position.
That's what my grandma. Who was it? Oh, I think it was one of my. I think it was one of my aunts who told me that they were talking to my grandma when they got pregnant, and they were like, "What am I gonna do, Mom? What am I gonna do? I already have this kid, and I'm gonna have another kid. What am I gonna do? This one's already so hard." And my grandma was like, "Hey, you figure it out." Mm-hmm. She goes, "You just figure it out. It just happens. If you have one kid, you can have two. Yeah. If you have 4 kids, you can have 6. You just make it happen." Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah. So if it fits your macros, it works. It's a good tool, but that's all it is, a tool. And if you're not willing to put in the time to develop yourself and your process so that you have a solid foundation to use those higher levels, then you're a tool.
Wow.
Whoa, I'm so sorry.
Then you're a tool. Golly.
I'm just kidding. But seriously, dude, take the time to evaluate where you're at and put yourself in a position where you can be successful. So many times in our industry, people fall off the wagon and get frustrated, and it's all pointed towards the wrong things. It's all pointed externally, as opposed to, did I screw this up from the very first step by trying to do something that I wasn't ready for?
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that. Take a step back, figure out where you're at, and try to just get 1% better. Good luck. We're here for you if you need it. This episode of the Two Coaches Podcast has been brought to you by facts.
And clearly emotion.
We did. Why did we get so emotional talking about that? Dude, okay, look, real talk. We weren't prepared to go into like all that jazz about philosophy and but we're literally going to talk about macros.
Yeah.
Protein, carbs, and fats, and how to divide. That was my plan.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna be like, yeah, proteins are worth 4 calories per gram.
I ruined it,
dude. But it is super
But
important.
that's honestly, I think a big part of that, real quick, is like, I keep saying real quick before we finish.
I know we're like we've been saying real quick for 40 minutes.
Last thing I'm gonna say, and then I'm not gonna say anything else except
I'm gonna let you finish.
Except goodbye.
I'm gonna let you.
I'm gonna let you finish.
I saw an interview with him and he was like, "You don't got the answers, Jay. You don't got the answers. You don't got the answers, Jay." And Jay was over. It might have been Sway.
Sway.
Yeah,
It was Sway.
Sway was like, "I'm asking you the question." He's like, "You don't got the answers." I was like, Jesus Christ, you guys.
That's what I mean.
A lot of pressure.
Got to be so.
A lot of pressure.
You got. I know. I don't feel like I have the answers for sure, and you're just reinforcing that. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Forgot what I was gonna say.
They are getting divorced.
Oh.
Go on.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now. I've seen that interview. I didn't realize it was that's who you're talking about until just now. But I know who that is.
Yeah. Did you remember what you were going to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
What were we talking about?
Next time on Two Coaches Podcast. Next time, guys, we're going to be talking we're going to be talking about some more questions. We had a bunch of questions come in this past week from our beautiful members, and we will be answering those. We had one about what was it? Intermittent fasting, and then you had one as well.
Yeah, I've had a couple of good ones. I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're gonna have to try to make sure that we write these questions, because we do when we're just hanging out, working out, and somebody's like, "Hey, blah blah blah," and then 30 minutes of the workout, still getting their workout. Like, "Hey, also," and then at the end of class, they're hanging out, we're talking. And
I wrote both mine down.
You did.
I did,
but it was also your idea to write them down. Mine's like,
true.
I'm like, "It's all up here, baby," and then you're like, "Hey, what was that thing you're gonna tell me?" Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
My steel trap.
It's leaking somewhere. I guess there's a hole somewhere filled with all this knowledge about macros and fitness.
What can I say? When you're a master, it just, when my teacup is full.
Yeah. I guess all in all, like we'll be okay. And like the type of podcasts we've had some that have been very, very direct. We've had some that have been passionate. We've had some that have been kind of just like off the wall. Bottom line, Rob and I both here, we're gonna continue taking questions from members and rolling with the punches and figuring out what we as a gym at Transcend, as the family here, can give to our community, to the people, our community in the gym, to the community around us and the people that we care about, which is anyone who's willing to try to like dig into health and wellness a little bit more and maybe take a step in a better direction. Like, that's just going to be our thing for the podcast, for the gym, for our health and fitness. We just want to figure out, we want to find that space where we're able to just kind of jam and figure out stuff together and grow and learn. I've learned so much from clients talking about things we're going to talk about on the podcast. I'm like having conversations like, yep, I need to do that more, or whatever the case may be.
I can't wait. Well, next week we'll be moving forward with our questions. If you guys have any questions, freaking put them in the comments so that we can talk them up. As always, guys, thanks for joining us on the Two Coaches Podcast, and we will see you next time.